family start reacting to everything, like all the changes?
Well, when I was going through most of my transition, I didn't live with like my family or anything, and I didn't see them that much. The people that I was living with at the time, my girlfriend and her family, they noticed my temper, my voice. For the first couple months, you sound sick. When I saw my mom, like after a while, she's always like pretty shocked, like how different I look, and she thinks like my leg hair is gross and stuff like that. So my grandma, she's really impressed with like the facial hair I can grow and like my voice and stuff like that.
So when it comes to the community, how did you find support in all of this? How did you get through this? How are you getting through this? And I don't even know if it's something to get through. Like, what is it for you?
I don't know if it really is something to get through or not. You kind of just have to live your life. You know, some days you're sad, sometimes you're happy. I don't know.
Danny, what resources can a young trans person or a trans person in general look for? What spaces should they try to be a part of?
Google's a good resource. You can pretty much find anything on there. But I think even more important than that is going on YouTube. That's how I figured out everything. Seeing people share their stories in like a genuine way is really helpful, and like you can connect to them. And aside from the internet, finding a therapist around you, also finding a support group around you is really helpful. That's helped me probably the most out of anything. Just having people that are like you and that have been through it and they can help you.
With your experience, what tips and advice would you give to people who may identify as trans?
For somebody that's kind of like considering that it's possible that they're trans, I think that doing a lot of like self-exploration is really important. Just within yourself, looking up things online, seeing how you really feel, finding out what makes you comfortable and what makes you uncomfortable, and figuring out ways to alleviate that feeling. Like it could be the way you dress, the way you cut your hair, the name that people call you. Transition is all about becoming who you feel that you are and just being comfortable in your skin.
And for all of us who are not familiar with the trans community, what are things that we can do to make sure that trans people feel safe?
First and foremost, their name and their pronouns.
What are pronouns for people who, I mean, people know, like we studied it in school, but in the world?
Pronouns are how you call someone, like he or she, or they, depending on their preference. I don't say preferred pronouns because, I mean, it's not what they prefer, it's more how they are, who they are.
So how would I ask that? I imagine if you're a stranger and I walk up to you, do I ask, hey, what are your pronouns?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds awkward because it's not something that people really do, but like we need to make it normal. Mm-hmm. Like the more you do it, the better it is. Even I, in queer spaces, sometimes I don't always directly ask. I try to like kind of talk to them and try to gauge what they prefer. If they tell me their name, maybe I could kind of go off that. It's really hard, but I mean, you just got to get through it. You feeling uncomfortable for 2 seconds is better than making them feel uncomfortable for the entire conversation, or even asking somebody that knows them. And also, if you have a friend that's trans, maybe they aren't really presenting the way that they want to yet, you can be like, hey, this is my friend Jacob, he, blah, blah, blah. You know, like make sure you put that pronoun in there.
Okay, so asking people's pronouns, asking their name. What other ways can like strangers or people new to the community to make y'all feel comfortable and safe?
I mean, it really depends on the person, but I think not referring to them in like a past tense as their former name, as like the other pronoun that they had before, I think is really important, because that can be upsetting to people. Just being reminded just being reminded of that is annoying.
How can we become better allies?
Being educated, finding out things on your own without having to ask your person is helpful, because sometimes it's really hard to talk about some of the stuff that we feel. So if you can find that out somewhere else, then cool. Just don't ask inappropriate things like what's in your pants, because nobody wants to talk about that kind of thing. Just being respectful and just trying to understand, but realizing that you can't completely understand.
I plan on hanging out with you after this. So if you and I were to go to bowling, or like maybe even to like a gay club or something like that, how can I make that easier for you so that space doesn't feel uncomfortable?
That's a good question.